Hello, how are you today? Welcome to another lesson of peace education. And today we have lesson number 8. The title of our lesson is Understanding and Forgiving Others. Again, the title of our lesson is Understanding and Forgiving Others. And as we do at the beginning of the lesson, we'll have a short story about this woman. She is Pan Thi Kim Phuc, a Vietnamese woman who actually, yes, and the woman that you will, that on the right of the slide is Pan, who actually also the picture on the middle of the first, uh, the woman on the middle of the first picture, the 9-year-old girl who is naked. Okay, so what is the story of Pan? So this happened during the time of Vietnam War. Yes, so during that time, she was actually hiding with her family at a Cao Dai temple. It was June 8th of 1972 during that war. Then just a few seconds after hearing the voices of soldiers saying, "Get out of the field," napalm bombs flew towards the temple. So there's a bombing since there is a war ongoing during that time, and that the entire village was suddenly engulfed by orange flames. The napalm bomb flames caught on Kim Phuc's left arm on her cotton clothes, and then in fear, she desperately ran through the streets, throwing her clothes off. So definitely yung naghubad and then tumakbo siya sa streets and then passed out after that. At that moment, Yun Kong Ut, a photographer at the Associated Press, photographed the scene. That's the first picture that we have seen a while ago. The 9-year-old girl who is like naked and running through the street. And then one time, um, this woman was invited to speak at the Veterans Memorial in Vietnam on Memorial Day in May 1996. So she spoke of forgiving those who bombed the village. So she is like actually the focus of her speech is about forgiveness, okay, and how she overcame the pain of the past in the name of peace. And then during her speech, John Plummer, okay, a bomber pilot during the war, so he was the pilot during that war, was present in the venue. So when she is like done with the speech, John jumped out of his seat and then went towards her and confessed. And then this man, the pilot, who is like, who actually is the reason of the bombing during, when she was like 9 years old, said, "It was me. I was the pilot who bombed the village 24 years ago. I am sorry. I am very sorry." So the audience in attendance cried together and applauded after witnessing this heart-wrenching moment of forgiveness requested and how forgiveness was given. All right. So that is why the main focus of our lesson for tonight or for today is about, yes, forgiveness. Okay, so that's the main point. And what is forgiveness? This is covering sins or wrongful deeds rather than scolding or punishing. Okay, so let's continue with our exploration number 1. The title is Forgiveness and Peace. There you have it. So in this part of the lesson, okay, we'll have later, we will watch video about forgiveness. But before that, Okay, what is forgiving first? Okay, so everyone, definitely, all of us, no one is exempted. All of us are experiencing being unfairly treated or having their feelings of being hurt. It's either big or small, okay, throughout their or throughout our lives. So some even experiencing being attacked by another person, which results in them on or their loved one being hurt or even dying. So at times like this, people want to take revenge, okay, to pay back how much they've been hurt. So these feelings are not wrong, okay, and are natural reactions of our hearts. Certain matters should have laws and principles of punishing, okay, the person who hurt us in order to prevent such things from happening again. However, apart from legal punishment, there is a different form of heart, okay, that we can choose to have towards the assailant or, you know, towards the person who made, the hurting or made us like made the pain or uh, did the untreatment or maltreatment. Okay, so what is that thing apart from legal punishment? It is forgiving. All right, that is why the first point is forgiveness and peace. So forgiving sometimes begins by admitting that I am also an incomplete person. So we need to, you know, assess ourselves also. It should begin where? Admitting that I, or even you, we are what? Also incomplete person who is capable of inflicting pain and hurting others. Okay? Just as others have hurt me, I have probably hurt and inflicted pain upon others. So if people surrounding me did not forgive me of my mistakes and decided to take revenge for every single one of my mistakes, how unfortunate would that life be? Okay? So it does not make sense to expect others to forgive me when I am unable to forgive others. So it should be what? Two-way. We need to learn how to forgive so that other people will learn also to forgive us. Okay? In order for me to be forgiven by another, I must also become someone who covers inadequacies or inadequacies of others and forgives their small mistakes and wrongdoings. Okay? Then, in order to forgive, I must be aware of the fact that the other person's wrongdoing may not be ill intended. So they're actually not their intention to hurt us. Typically, we have the tendency to think that when someone does us wrong, that is, or that it was done intentionally. We think actually like that. So why would they do that? So we need to ask, what a terrible person if they are really, intentionally want to hurt us. So I'm going to hurt them back because they hurt me. So is that the mindset that we need to have? However, wrong, when we do some, wrong things to another person, we tend to write it off as it having been unavoidable or done within reason. Okay, so of course, with explicit crimes such as wars, murders, sexual assaults, or scams, there are like definitive punishments based on the law. So we knew that. So there are like there are like crimes that need to be punished by the law. However, in most situations, the mistakes that happen within personal relationship are often mistakes that resulted from complex circumstances and the momentarily loss of control over one's emotions rather than with malicious intent. So it is the same situation that caused me to make the same mistakes to others in the past. So in regards to this situations, we need a bigger in regards to this situation, rather, we need to what? We need a bigger heart of understanding. That is what will open the road to forgiveness. So why do we need to forgive in the first place? Why? It is because when violence is repaid with violence, imagine if the world is like that. If someone did a violent action and then we'll repay it with another violent action. So violence will never cease. It will never stop in the world. So we need to choose a different approach and cut the chain of this cycle. Okay? So if we repay hate with hate, anger with anger, and resentment with another resentment, what will become of this world in the end? So it is a continuous one. It's a chain of hurting, of pain, of violence. So is that the world we want to live? So we must reject every kind of evil. Okay? So the past has already passed. The past, rather, has already passed. And we cannot take back our history. Especially history of wars, we cannot take them back. However, we can take a different instance on how we view our history and past. So we can also choose a different approach. That is to not bear grudges against others for their wrongdoings in the past and choosing to not retaliate, but to choose to forgive instead. It is putting an end to the wrong costumes of the past and to be given a new world of peace with forgiveness. And this is a work that must be done by someone. Okay? So it means we need to accept that we were ourselves are actually what hurting other people. If we are being hurt, so we are at some point hurt also other people. So we need to accept that fact and we need to forgive and we need to start applying forgiveness. Now, in the world, actually, there are many instances that there are really, many situation where people to people, nation to nation, there's conflict and they are hurting each other. Okay, but can forgiveness ever change me in the world? So forgiveness may not be difficult for someone who does not have much pain or hurt. However, forgiveness is not easy for a person with countless pain and wounds. So it means it depends. If I'm not that hurt, so I can forgive easily. But how if that person is what? Experiencing countless pain and really hurt, having wounds, okay? So when discussing forgiveness, it is important to fully understand this one. So we need to understand this one. Forgiveness is by no means an easy task. There are so many reasons why it is difficult to forgive. So remember that. There are many reasons why it is not easy to forgive or it is difficult to forgive. Will that person ever change if I forgive them? So magbabago ba sila pag pinatawad ko sila? So we need to consider that. If I forgive them, wala na ba silang mabibiktima? Can I really heal my wounds if I forgive him? May heal ba talaga yung wounds ko kapag nagpatawad ako? Would forgiveness make the world too unfair? Okay? Kasi there are a group of people that will keep on hurting us and then tayo naman, another group will keep on forgiving. So is that unfair? So this lesson actually cannot answer all these questions. Did you get it? Hindi naman kayang sagutin ng lesson na to yung lahat ng tanong na yan. So it is clear, however, that forgiveness can first change oneself. Ang mahalaga lang bagay na tandaan natin, ang pagpapatawad ay kayang baguhin unang-una yung sarili natin. And then, in the long run, change others and have the power to change the world. Okay? So let's take a look at the influence of forgiveness through the following examples. So we'll have examples of how this forgiveness was given. But before that, okay, let us watch first, okay, this video. Okay, for a while. So we're going to play the video. And this is actually entitled How to Forgive. And there you go, still preparing. Okay, how to forgive.
It can be so hard to forgive because so often we simply are in the right, and the scale of the folly, thoughtlessness, and meanness of others seems utterly beyond our own measure. But there are two inviolable ideas which should nevertheless, in the face of the grossest behaviour, be kept in mind to increase our chances of being able to forgive. Firstly, we must remember how the other person got there, to this place of idiocy and cruelty. Every irritating fault in another person has a long history behind it. They've become like this because of flaws in their development, which they did not choose for themselves. They were shaped by troubles which we cannot see, but which we know must exist. The arrogant person was trapped at some key point in their personal evolution, in an environment where being modest and reasonable seemed to guarantee they'd be trampled on. The hypercritical individual has lived too much, as their personality was growing, around people who couldn't take a gentle hint, so they came to rely on blunt assertions. The frustratingly timid, mousy person was at some stage terrified. The show-off learnt their irritating manner around people who were hard to please. Behind every failing, behind everything that's wrong and infuriating about those we meet, is a decisive trauma encountered before someone could cope with it properly. They are maddening, but they got to be this way without meaning to. To forgive is to understand the origins of evil and cruelty. Secondly, and very strangely, there are difficult things about you too. Of course, not in this area, not in any area remotely connected to the sort of lapses that tend to destroy your faith in humanity. But in some areas, quiet areas, that you forget about as soon as you've travelled through them, you too are a deeply imperfect and questionable individual. Gently, you have, in your own way, betrayed. Nicely, you have been a coward. Modestly, you have forgotten your privileges. Unthinkingly, you have added salt to the wounds of others. We don't need to know anything about you to know this as a certainty. We must forgive because, not right now, not over this, but one day over something, we will need to be forgiven. We would in the past regularly have looked upwards to the heavens for this forgiveness. We do that less and less nowadays. But that doesn't attenuate the need for some moments when we limber up to utter that most implausible word, sorry, or indeed stretch our ethical imagination in order to pronounce those even more arduous and unnatural sounding words, I forgive you. The School of...
All right. All right, so that's a short video showing how to forgive. And now we're going to give examples of actually, yes, forgiveness and peace. So that is exploration number 2, examples of forgiveness. So we'll have some story about how people forgive another people despite of the pain they actually experience, okay, from other people also. So first, let's have the story of Lincoln, the US president. So actually, this is between Lincoln and Stanton. So before the presidency of Lincoln, actually, so he had a political opponent, and the name is Edwin Stanton, okay, who was a famous lawyer at the time. So definitely, the story is between these two, Lincoln and then the opponent. Stanton. So can you imagine that? There are two person like, you know, they don't like each other. Lincoln has no any, dislikes to Stanton, but Edwin Stanton has like dislike to Lincoln. All right. So Stanton is an arrogant man and rude towards Lincoln, who was an obscure lawyer, calling him a boor. So when Lincoln was elected president, he lashed out saying, Lincoln's election is a national disaster for the United States. So imagine that. After winning, after winning the presidential election, Stanton has this statement na yung election na yon is actually a national disaster for the whole United States. But alam niyo ba yung naging reaction ni Lincoln? Despite of those statements, Lincoln appointed Stanton as his minister. Okay? His aides actually, yung mga kasamahan niya sa government, for example, they opposed the decision of Lincoln to choose Stanton as the minister. Why? Because their opponent, right? Stanton do not like Lincoln. And then suddenly Lincoln choose him as the minister. So definitely, the members of his government opposed, his decision. Kasi sabi nila, di ba minamaliit ka ni Stanton before? Kung ano-ano sinasabi sa'yo about something or about anything, and then you will choose him as the minister. Okay? But you know what? Lincoln answered, even if he were to belittle me hundred of times, he's enough to be a cabinet minister because of his patriotism and sense of duty. So it means hindi tiningnan ni Lincoln yung ginawa ni Stanton before, na sinisiraan siya, kung ano-ano sinasabi. But ano yung tiningnan ni Lincoln? Yung kakayanan ni Stanton na mamahala sa kanyang cabinet. Okay? So, in here, pinakita yung faith and yung forgiveness kay Stanton. Kasi pinili mo nga siya despite nung ginawa ni Stanton kay Lincoln, di ba? Na naging rude sa kanya. And you know what? Dahil dun sa ginawa ni Lincoln, may magandang nangyari actually. Okay? So, we all knew that si Lincoln ay, talaga siya, pinatay. He was actually shot to death. So, if you are going to read more about Lincoln, isa siya yung president ng Amerika na pinatay. Okay? He was shot to death. And then Stanton, alam niyo kung anong ginawa ni Stanton? Niyakap niya si Lincoln ng mahigpit. And umiyak siya ng malakas. At alam ba yung sabi ni Stanton? Here, ito, the greatest man in the world has been shot down. So imagine that. Kung hindi nagpatawad si Lincoln, sa tingin niyo, ganun ang magiging reaction ni Stanton towards Lincoln? So definitely not. But because of forgiveness na pinakita ni Lincoln, natapos yung usapan. And well, what happened? Hindi na na-repay ng violence ng another violence, yung violence na dating nangyayari. But ano nangyari? Peace towards both of them. Okay? Next, may isa pang naganap sa history about the apology of Willy Brandt. So ano naman yung patungkol dito? So Willy Brandt was a politician, who served as the fourth federal prime minister of West Germany from 1969 to 1974. So it was raining since the morning of December 7, 1970. Then Prime Minister Willy Brandt, who was visiting Poland, kneeled on the wet ground in front of the monument commemorating the victims of the ghetto uprising in Warsaw. So Willy Brandt's actions were interpreted as an apology for the war crimes committed by Nazi Germany during World War II. So of course, the apology did not absolve all the World War II victims of Nazi Germany. However, it is true that Willy Brandt's kneeling in Warsaw has helped to improve relationship between Germany and the Eastern European countries. So what I mean here, so Willy Brandt is representing Germany. And Germany, during that war, is marami talaga silang napatay or nasaktan ng mga bansa. And anong ginawa ni Willy Brandt as a politician at leader ng fourth federal prime minister ng Germany? So kahit hindi naman siya yung may mag-isang nagkaroon ng kasalanan sa mga bansa na nasaktan ng Germany during the war, siya yung nanikluhod. Lumuhod siya sa harapan ng monumento ng mga namatay para humingi ng tawad. At nang nakita yun ng buong bansa, nagkaroon ng katahimikan lahat. Kasi nakita nila yung sincerity ni Willy Brandt na humingi ng tawad. At syempre, because of that, na-improve yung relation ng Germany at yung mga European countries. So nag-stop na yung war. Did you get it? So forgiveness was given. And forgiveness was asked first. Hiningi ito ni Willy Brandt, and definitely it was given to him by the people. That's the story. And another is the South Africa Truth and Reconciliation Committee. As you remember yesterday, may kunento ko about sa apartheid. Ito yung discrimination ng mga white sa black people ng South Africa. So ang nangyari is mayroong division. Merong lugar na kailangan puntahan lang yung mga white, yung mga black, at hindi sila pwede mag-enter sa place kung nasaan ang mga white. So that is the huge discrimination in South Africa. And remember, Tutu, the person na pinaglaban talaga yung kalayaan ng mga black, natupad ito nung manalo si Mandela sa election as president. Siya yung first black president ng South Africa na nanalo that time. So saka lang napalaya yung mga black na maging malaya sila sa pagkilos sa bansa na yon. Kung nawala yung discrimination or yung tinatawag nating apartheid during that time. But merong tinatawag na Truth and Reconciliation Committee. At isa sa napagkasunduan is yun sa Truth and Reconciliation Committee. Siyempre kasi maraming nasaktan, maraming sa race discrimination, maraming nagtiis ng matagal na panahon for 46 years. So ano yung gusto nilang maging parusa? So actually malala yung gusto nilang mangyari towards the assailants. Okay? So actually, firing squad, imagine that, yun ang gusto nilang gawin dun sa mga nag-discriminate sa kanila. Gusto nilang patayin din or parusahan. Yan. So yun ang gustong gawin para makabawi sila dun sa violation na ginawa. Okay, but pumasok ulit sa eksena si Bishop Desmond Tutu, who was the chairman of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. And nag-stress na sinabi niya na forgiveness is not about turning a blind eye to or watching past events. So, ibig sabihin niya, hindi natitinan yung mga nakaraan, but about dealing with past affairs thoroughly to prepare for a new beginning. So, tingnan mo yung heart ni Tuto is very good, very nice. Kasi tingnan yung relationship at makapagsimula ng bagong panimula. So sabi niya, there's no future unless you forgive and reconcile. So instead na parusahan sila by killing, firing squad, and the like, so ano yung sinuggest niya? Just to forgive and reconcile. So you have to be a people who forgive, sabi niya, reflect and reconcile with each other. He also confessed in regards to what he has perceived through the work of the committee that evil is clearly present everywhere. But humans, yung tao daw, have the amazing ability to do good. Meron daw tayong kakayanan na gumawa ng mabuti. And that is why they can hope even in the most difficult circumstances. So ibig sabihin, dahil may kaya tayong gawin, mabuti, bakit hindi natin gawin? Despite yung napagdaanan natin in the past, na-discriminate sila for 46 years, pero bakit hindi na lang gamitin yung past para magsimula ulit at ma-build yung relationship? Okay? So, that is why the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, ending its activities in October 1998, posted 5 reports of 3,500 pages of President Mandela, and then the report has become an official memory of the national community and a human rights textbook, and has been distributed to all school libraries and public institutions. The Truth and Reconciliation Committee has left a very important mark in the history of overcoming human violence. Kasi instead na magkaroon ng violence, hindi yun naganap. dahil dito sa the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. So, imagine, kaya palang suklian ng mabuti ang masamang ginawa sa iyo. If you will just forgive and forget. Hindi madali mag-forget, definitely. Pero later, sa discussion natin, we will know na sa pagkakasala ng ibang tao, there's always a law. May batas na pwede magparusa sa kanila. And we need to what? Iwan na yun natin sa kanila. Sila na yung bahala magbigay nun. So what can we do? Are we going to repay violence with another violence? Or try to forgive and forget what happened and let the law, hayaan natin yung batas ang magparusa sa kung sino man ang nagkasala sa atin. Okay? So, yeah. That is why in this next topic or next exploration, we'll have the application of peace. But before that, I want you to look at this picture. So ito yung ginawa ni Willy Brandt kung saan nalikluhod siya sa harap ng monument. Ayan. Actually, kinunan siya ng maraming press during that time nung natapos yung war between Germany and other countries in Europe. And this one, yung Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So, tinan nyo nakalagay, healing our past. Imagine, being discriminated for 46 years, tapos ano yung naging decision nila? Patawarin na lang. Okay? Huwag nang suklian ng violence yung ginawa nila for after 46 years of discrimination. Imagine. Ano yung nagagawang kapangyarihan ng forgiveness? So, kaya niyang talunin yung violence. Okay? So, let's proceed to exploration number 2. The practice of forgiveness. So, as human, nasabi ko nga kanina, evil things are all over us. Nakapaikot yun sa atin. But as human, ano yung pwede nating magawa? Kaya ba nating i-turn ang evil ones or evil deeds into doing something good or better? Can we do that? So, in here, we are going to watch a video. Okay? So this is about Dr. Fred Luskin, who talks about the power of forgiveness. So let us watch this video.
My next guest is helping people discover the power of healing through sound. Dr. Fred Luskin, director of the Stanford Forgiveness Project, joins us now on Bay Area Focus. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell me about the power of forgiveness. Why is this so important for us to forgive?
Because people get hurt all the time, and people are unkind to other people. And if we don't let it go, we carry it with us. And like the simplest example, if you had a terrible breakup and somebody was really crappy to you, you bring that to the next person if you're not careful.
And that could affect you psychologically, physically. It can lead you into things like depression.
Yeah. Well, the
anger.
thing it does mostly is it creates fear. So whenever something has happened that we haven't fully metabolized or digested or let go of, we're afraid. We're afraid that it might happen again. We're afraid that we can't cope. That releases stress chemicals, and over time, that can wear out parts of your body.
I always find it amazing. You'll see it on the news when victims' families forgive the person who did harm to their family. And I always think, how is that possible? Because I kind of relate it to my own family. Would I be able to forgive?
And you're looking and saying, there's no way I could do that.
Right.
I know.
What are some of the steps we can take toward that, even in the face of something very difficult as death?
Well, the first step is to feel the pain. If you rush through and don't allow yourself to recognize how much harm there's been, it's kind of a shortcut. But once you've forgiven it, you have to, most people have some kind of either faith and belief in something bigger. You have to have that. 2, you have to be able to calm yourself down. So people who forgive, they either practice some kind of meditation, or they're capable of going outside and noticing what a beautiful day it is. Even though this rotten thing has happened, it's still beautiful out. And the last thing is you have to like stop looking at the past, look towards the future.
You can't hold on to that.
Can't hold on.
How did you get interested in all of this? Because you wrote a book, you teach.
Yeah, I was hurt badly by somebody, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And one day somebody told me that, you know, like at some level you're becoming a bitter pain in the, you know what? And so I had to grow up, and it was very hard. I turned what I learned into the Stanford Forgiveness Project.
So healing through sound.
Well, and I'm partnering with a woman who does sound healing. We're doing a show, a talk and a show next week, and her voice is phenomenal, and it literally helps people to get into that state of like looking at nature or looking at beauty.
So it's not music, it's not white noise, it's voice.
The rich, as sound is beauty, just like sight can be a beauty, love can be a beauty. It's touching that kind of quiet, safe, loving space inside of us that alters the brain.
And it can have that calming effect that you talked about, that's what we need to do is
That's
calm
it.
ourselves down.
And when we're unforgiving, instead we throw fire. We throw oil on the fire and make it worse. And the answer is to quiet down and make it better.
And the event that you were talking about with the sound healer, that's Experience Forgiveness?
Yeah, and it's at Unity Church in Palo Alto.
Okay, sounds great. I mean, we can all move forward to forgiving, especially when you're married. I feel like you always have to forgive every day, right?
That they found that forgiveness is one of the top few things that makes a long-term marriage succeed. If you can't do it, you're going to drive each other crazy.
Yeah, that is true. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us about the book and sound healing. And for more information, you can check out Dr. Luskin's website, learningtoforgive.com. That's going to do it for our show. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and our website, kpix.com/Bay Area Focus. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.
There you have it. So that's the few tips coming from for a while. It's a few tips coming from Fred. Okay, his name again is Dr. Fred Luskin, an author. Forgive for good, like mind, like body. So according to him, forgiveness is for oneself, not for the other. Okay, so when you forgive, it's not you're doing something for you, not for them. Since forgiveness is not something at once, so many people are still suffering from wounds. There are so many people in the world who are to be forgiven and so many who are to forgive. So it means when we say we do it for ourselves, is that we helping ourselves to be okay, to be all right, to heal. Because if we will hold on to the pain that we are experiencing, definitely it will slowly kill us. So getting freedom by giving forgiveness is a must for us to be okay, to be well. Okay, so that is Fred Luskin. And another thing, so I'll add some more here. Forgiveness for oneself. So actually, ang pagpapatawad is hindi naman namamadali actually. It cannot be given easily. Okay? Even if someone told us o tell us na magpatawad ka na lang, hindi naman ganoon kadali yun. Okay? So the anger and the injustice found in the heart do not easily disappear. Hindi madaling maalis yung pain, yung anger. Okay? And even if there is forgiveness today, the anger can still come up tomorrow. Nababalikan pa rin pag naalala natin yung pangyayari or the situation. Or even if you forgive someone, the people around you may look at you rather strange by saying, how can you forgive such a wicked person? Paano mo napatawad yung tao na yun? I don't understand you. So many people will tell you like that. Diba? So it's a process. But since it's a process, definitely there's a beginning and there's an end. So we need to begin. But again, katulad ng binanggit ni Fred, how to begin, we need to recognize our pain. Okay? But we need to overcome that pain. And by overcoming that, we need to forgive. Okay? So we do not have to think of forgiveness as a duty. So this is not a duty, or think of ourselves as strange because we cannot put it into practice. However, efforts, take note, efforts are needed to practice forgiveness. So if it is a process and there's a beginning, there should be an effort. Okay? There should be an effort to practice forgiveness for your own happy life and peaceful world. Okay? So the world of peace is, it's not something you can gain without effort. So just as farmers reap fruit with sweat, the world of peace is like a fruit that is obtained with constant effort to choose forgiveness. But I said it's not easy. It's a process. But we need to begin. Okay? We need to do some effort. So another is there's a simple way to practice forgiveness. So the method presented actually by Fred Ruskin, who studied forgiveness at Stanford University, is an easy and effective way to practice forgiveness in everyday life. So the heart you need in order to forgive. So take note of this. Number one, there is no one who purposely wants to harm you. Wala naman talagang gustong manakit. Those actions were carried out without knowing it can harm other person. May mga tao kasi na hindi nila alam na nakakasakit pala yung ginagawa nila. Okay? They are harmful actions that derive from selfishness and lack of consideration. So bakit nila nagagawa yon? Still, babalikan natin yung past lessons because of selfishness, because of greed, because of lack of consideration. Kasi nga, self-centered, thinking of own self. Okay? But remember, our past lesson, consideration of others, right? Being grateful of others. So still connected. These are all connected. Number two, when you get angry because of the hurt you receive from another person, think of your loved ones or think of what makes you feel grateful and happy. So it means you need to what? To shift your attention. If you are hurt today, you need to like look for the happy memories you have with your loved ones and many things that you can actually do na kapaki-pakinabang rather than, dwelling sa pain or sa anger na meron ka ngayon. There are many things to do. Okay? And number three, I believe that hatred and forgiveness is up to me. I have the power. So you have all the control. Okay? Your hatred, you have all the control. It's up to you. Kung gusto mong magalit ng matagal, it's up to you. But if you want to stop that immediately, make some effort to stop it. And have a peaceful life. Definitely having a peaceful life, it will, give you a healthy body. Okay? So there's another exercise you can do this if you are like being hurt by someone. First, close your eyes and take deep breaths in 1 and out 2 or 3 times. So try to close your eyes and take a deep breathing rather. And then within your heart, think of someone you like or a scene that evokes awe and admiration. Remember a person who was kind to you and think about what you are thankful for. So instead of dwelling sa pain, sa anger na nararamdaman mo toward person, think of another person na nakagawa sa iyo ng mabuti. Through practice, you will become less tense and enter a state where your heart is at ease. So pag peaceful ka, wala kang galit, as if yung heart mo, puso mo at ease din. So you should ask yourself what you should do to solve this problem of forgiveness. So the effects of forgiveness, syempre may effects siya sa body. Kaya tulad ng binanggit ko kanina, it will make your body like healthy. So Mayo Clinic research team, sinabi nila na yung mga people that who are angry are 3 times more likely to have a heart attack than those who are less angry. Okay? And this is why it's okay to be angry now, but forgive and be well. Ganun lang naman. That's a process, I said. But we need to give effort para mawala yung galit. And then Friedman and Roseman type A behavior pattern in coronary heart disease research. So this is based from the research. So this is actually a fact. So people who are easily angered or have the tendency to become hostile are twice as likely to have heart disease than those who are not. So, mas mabilis sila magkaroon ng heart disease kapag mabilis magalit. Okay? Hope University Research Team, sinasabi na when you bear hatred, lagi kang may hatred sa puso, your heart rate increases and blood pressures increases also. But when you have a forgiving heart, your heart rate and blood pressure decreases. So take note of that. So it helps. When you forgive, it like lower our blood pressure. Dr. Dick Tibbets, according to him, for people with high blood pressure and excessive anger, forgiveness is an effective treatment. Okay, one thing. Remember our past lesson about being grateful? It helps also our body. Next. Johns Hopkins Hospital, according to him, forgiveness is effective in reducing the risk of heart attack, improving cholesterol levels, normalizing sleep patterns, and reducing pains, stress, anxiety, and depression. So this is according to John Hopkins. So imagine, it's so good for us. And in Stanford University Forgiveness Project said, a person who practices forgiveness significantly reduces the stress response, eliminates psychological disturbances, and ease tension. So kaya niyang ease yung tension. So try to breathe 3 times. I said, close your eyes, and then breathe 1, 2, 3, and then, get some relaxation. And then blood pressure, muscle tension, and pulse decreases in a person who forgives. Okay? So let's begin now to forgive. So the negative effect of anger and hatred on the human body is like bringing oneself to pain. So actually you are like torturing yourself if you are like always angry and you don't give, you do not forgive other people. So forgiveness is not intended to absolve the perpetrator. Forgiveness is the key to freeing out oneself. Actually, when we forgive, hindi yung ginagawa natin para sa kanila. They thought we did that for them, but actually we did that for ourselves. Okay? Because we what? Give freedom sa ating sarili. Saan? Sa galit, sa hatred, and therefore, we'll be well. Magiging maayos. So there are another 3 concepts confused with forgiveness. To forgive is not to forget. A while ago I said, forgive and forget. It's actually one way or another way na pwede natin gawin. But there's another law na sinasabi that to forgive is not to forget. Okay? To forgive and to forget are different. So forgiveness is neither, erasing memories nor eliminating reality. Forgiveness is a matter of how to remember the event. Therefore, forgiven today does not necessarily mean that you have to forgive tomorrow. So forgiveness is a constant challenge, and um, and when it reaches true forgiveness, memories remain, but you are free from pain of the heart. So, that is confusing for us. So this is concept that may confuse us. So this is not true. So it should be to forgive and forget. Next, forgiveness does not justify the perpetrator. Okay? So even if you forgive, what is wrong is wrong. Does not justify the wrong behavior. Okay? We just understand the people, but I said, when they committed wrongdoings, there's a law naman that can punish people. And then forgiveness is not reconciliation. It's actually a reconciliation. Building relationship. Forgiveness is not liberating the perpetrator. Okay? So it means there's a way on, to handle. The important thing is to free ourselves from anger, hatred. That's it. So yeah. So we'll proceed now to the conclusion of this lesson. Yeah, you have it. So let's have this one. 2 basic mindset for forgiveness. The last step of forgiveness is the word of peace. Definitely, laging papunta to sa world of peace. 3 examples of forgiveness in human history. We already mentioned that. Yun ang example natin na kaya naman talagang magpatawad. Just like Lincoln, just like Tuto, just like, the people of the Europeans when they forgive the Germany through, to their leader. And then the practice of forgiveness, yes, practical ways, effect, and confusable concepts. So we need to get rid of confusable concept, but we need to make some effort now, do something. And again, when we forgive other people, we are not doing that for them, but we are doing that for ourselves. So that's it for today. See you for another lesson of peace education. Bye.